The planet of Onura was an ice ball before it was terraformed. Before the Great Drowning, mountains dominated the continents, and great caps of ice ate the north and south, until they arrived. They came and drowned the planet, melting the ice caps and flooding the land until all that remained were chains of tiny islands where the peaks of mountains used to be. Atop the remains of what was once great swaths of earth, they built monoliths of black metal that screamed into the sky as they stole heat from the core of the planet and released massive walls of steam. Metal birds flock around them, nesting and breeding on their smooth, unnatural sides. With the planet now being mostly water, colossal storms fueled by the heat of two suns brew in the uninterrupted space. Daily thunderstorms are common, sometimes more than one a day, and during the warmest seasons, when the planet is closest to the pair of stars it orbits, huge, destructive storms wreak havoc across the islands. During the Great Flood, most life on Onura went extinct. However, after only around 200 years, pinwheels were flourishing again in the newly empty oceans. Pinwheels are jellyfish-like, radially symmetrical creatures. They have many tentacled limbs and many basic eyes surrounding the outer portion of their bodies. Unlike invertebrate jellyfish, pinwheels have one disc-like bone in their center. This bone has a hole through it, where their nerve endings all cluster together into a sort of brain. Their meat is edible, light but stringy, and requires soaking to remove the slime that coats the meat when first removed from the animal. Another animal that inhabits Onura's oceans are scubbers. Scubbers, also known as scubs, are the fish analog creatures of Onura. They come in uncountable different shapes and sizes and colors. They have 4 flippers on their ventral side and 6 gill slits. They also have armored plates on their back. In the 2,000 years since the Great Flooding, the plants on Onura have adapted to the harsh storms that come with this planet of mostly water. For example, shell plants have adopted a symbiotic relationship with glue bugs. Shell plants have hard, white, dome-shaped shells that they curl their leaves up inside of during rains, showing only their scaly, tough upper half of their leaves, and keeping the rain from going inside the shell or destroying the plant. They reproduce asexually, new plants growing up from their root systems. Because of this, groves of mainly shell plants are fairly common. Shell plants have adopted a symbiotic relationship with glue bugs. A shell plant's muscles will constantly expand and contract inside its shell, cracking it. The glue bugs, tiny, white, soft, 6-legged invertebrates, seal up the cracks with their spit, which hardens over a few minutes. Over time, this continuous cracking and repairing causes the shell to grow, making the plant grow bigger and effectively ensuring it can grow indefinitely. The glue bugs are rewarded with a safe place to live and breed, and the plant intentionally overproduces sap to feed them. When shell plants reproduce, their tiny sapling seeds form a small shell around them. Glue bugs flock to this tiny shell, and the plant begins to grow with the help of its insect companions. Another plant on Onura is worm plants. Despite the name, worm plants are not plants. Instead, they're crustacean analog worms that evolved a symbiotic relationship with photosynthetic organisms that now reside in their leaf-like appendages. The photosynthetics gain a safe home that can protect them from the rain, and the worm plants gain a primary source of food. They come in many different sizes, from only a foot long to 14 meters or more. Whatever the case, only about 30% of their body is exposed above the ground. Worm plants don't have hard shells like shell plants. Instead, they have narrow, spiraling tunnels that they retract into during rain or when disturbed, pulling themselves slowly backwards with their 2 back legs, the only ones not above the ground. Once a worm plant has made itself a burrow, it is unlikely to leave it for the rest of its life. Seeing a worm plant above ground is a bad omen. Some worm plants have evolved to be carnivorous, either through deception or ambush. Worm plants are hermaphroditic and reproduce via pollination. Their eggs are sticky and cling on to pollinators, deceived by the worm plant's bright colors, and temporarily trapped by their modified appendages. When this pollinator is tricked by another plant, the eggs are deposited and fertilized. The eggs then dry up and blow away, waiting until the next rain to be buried, hatch, grow, and repeat the cycle. The eggs float easily and thus can easily travel to neighboring islands. Despite the hardships Onura has gone through, life perseveres. In one particular case, life held on by a thread and is now thriving. But this is a story for another episode. Until then, goodbye. They come in uncountable different atop the remains of what was one Take 2. Shell plants have adapted a symbiotic relation. Shell plants. Large shell plants have hard, hollow space. Large shell plants have large... Okay. Shell plants' shells are made from... Oh, fuck. Their meat is edible, light, but stringy. Oh my god! They reproduce egg... God, that was hard.